Many blessings, family, and continuations with combinations of Iwori. We're going to be talking about the old Iwori Wani. Iwori Wani speaks about the majestic and mystical meaning behind uh, the hole when we dig on earth, because basically there's a story by which a child of Shango was advised to become a Babalao, was advised to continue his family's legacy of ancestral veneration, but he refused to do so. This affected the town in a negative way. There was a lot of stagnation. It also affected his health because he was not doing what he was meant to do in his destiny. After a while, he realized that if he did not align himself with his destiny, things were not going to improve. So he decided to do the offerings to his ancestors, and he digged a hole. And in that portal or that dimension, he saw his ancestors were very happy to see him. They greeted him and they were thankful for the offerings. But he was startled by that, and very afraid, because he said, I care about you guys, but I don't want to live with you guys at this moment. So the ancestors understood that, and he became basically the one that had the access to open that portal on earth and give offerings to the ancestors. This basically teaches us in this old why the Babalao has a sacred covenant also with earth, has a sacred connection with Mother Earth, especially when we dig. We have sacred prayers we have to do to respect the earth and give honor to the ancestors. And also this teaches us why we cannot abandon our way of life. Also, this Odu teaches about humility and respect, irrespective of what social status we are in or financial bracket we are in or what part of the world we're from. This story stems from a king who was very prideful. He was very well financially, but he would never visit the people that he ruled over. He felt he was better than them. And there came a moment when his daughter was sick. And he spent a lot of money to heal her, but no one could heal her at all. And one of his subjects suggested respectfully to go to consult with Oromila, because Oromila is the one that could resolve the situation. He refused because he felt that he did not have to go to a diviner for that. Eventually, the daughter got more sick, unfortunately, and then he basically told Oromila, "Hey, I will go, but I can't." He was making an excuse because in his mind, if he went to Oromila's house, he's lowering his prestige before a diviner. So the daughter got worse in a worse condition. So he desperately, for the love of his daughter to save her, went to Oromila's home, and he was very tall. As he lowered his head, his crown fell and rolled over down the street. And now his subjects hid his crown because they wanted to teach him a lesson because he was too prideful. He had no choice but to visit every single citizen in the village that he never visited to ask for his crown back. After he visited every single home, his subjects gave him back his crown. And he immediately went to Oromila's home. And to be careful next time, he lowered his head more as he entered Oromila's home. And in that moment, Oromila told him, your crown may be great on earth, in your nation, but my crown rules over all. So this basically teaches us that no matter what level we are in life, attorneys, lawyers, whatever the case may be, doctors, always we must seek Oromila's counsel, because Oromila comes from a pure, objective perspective, his stance. Also, this story, or this next story, also talks about humility as well, and why pride comes before the fall. The story was about a businessman who had a wonderful store, and there was an elder who will always visit him, and he will offer him coffee, and the elder will always bless his business. Gradually, his business became way better and progressive and very productive. But as he earned more income, he became prideful, and now the elder that visited him disturbed him. So he drove him out disrespectfully. The elder felt insulted and humiliated and crossed the street to another business. And in that business, they did the same thing. They offer him coffee, they would speak to him, they would treat him, with respect. And gradually that business will prosper because he will always bless them. But the original business where he was ousted out of began to retrograde and was stagnating. He had to close his business eventually. So this talks about that when we do it bold, when we are in alignment, when we have blessings, we cannot forget where we come from, because pride comes before the fall. And you never know who will be the one that will help you at the end of the day. So it's always great to treat everybody with respect. This interesting Pataki, or next story of the old Iworiwani, speaks about a king who had 4 daughters, and basically it was there was a lot of grass and a lot of trees that was growing so much around the property, and different vegetables, to the point where they couldn't maneuver outside their palace, and they were surrounded by a lot of plants, and they were stuck, they were barricaded. And then out of a sudden, a large serpent was slithering around the property, and they were crying for help. The neighboring nation was ruled by a king who had 4 sons. They were hunters. They did a bow and followed the advice of Oromila to overcome this enemy. So they defeated the serpent, rescued the princesses, and somehow there was a harmony between the princess and the prince and the princesses, and they got married, and they became one nation. The moral of the story here, apparently it talks about in unity there's strength, feminine energy with masculine energy. Symbolically, the serpent symbolizes the Kundalini energy, or the spinal column, as is mentioned in the Odu Bayobe. Also represents the auric field, or the chakras, as is mentioned in the Odu Obeka, which represents the aura, the magnetic aura that emanates from our bodies. Also, it talks about basically an illuminated state. But if we allow our greed, our bad sides of us consume us, then the serpent within, or the energy within, will destroy us. But if we evolve, just like Asian nations, like for example, the ancient Egypt, they'll have a serpent, statues of serpents, stationed in people's heads, because that represents illumination, where they rose up in spiritual stature. Like in Bayobe represents, Ori, which is very important, the mind, right? So this talks about spiritual evolution, and also the necessity of balancing feminine energy with masculine energy, just like the old Shetura, where masculine energies were helping create the world, but everything was stagnated. But when Oshun participated, everything was in harmony. So it talks about the harmonious relationship between masculine and feminine energy within. This Odu also talks about that there is, if they have this Odu in hand of Ifa, it talks about a Native American spirit that's very rebellious and in the person's energetic field. And to cater to it, it's a sacred ceremony that Babalawo does with a coconut, with a saber tree, that I cannot disclose the full ceremony, but it's to find alignment and harmony with that spirit. Also, Iworiwani says that whatever we do to others, so shall it fall back on us. So it's always good to do good in life. Iworiwani is very interesting because also it discusses that with little information and details, the person with Iworiwani is able to grasp and learn rapidly a lot. Also, they tend to be blamed for things they have not done, because they like to do things hidden. They don't like to show the whole world what they do, and to their credit, they know that God sees them, and the Orisha and Ego sees them. So they don't have to worry about outside validation, because they're very confident in knowing that if they've done good, they're good in their hearts. In the Odu, Iworiwani also talks about where the person has to be very selective who they help and who they assist, because it's like it's like filling water in a basket. Eventually, it's not going to stay there. It's going to drip. In the same way, human beings represents baskets, so they have to be careful who they pour the energy to, who they help, because a lot of people will not reciprocate that the amount of energy that they actually give to people. In the Odu Iworiwani. Also, going back to the Pataki about the serpent, we already know in the year 2025, which numerically is number 9 numerology, but in Chinese astrology numerology, we're living in the year of the serpent. So once again, and there's also a concept of the wooden serpent, right? So it's about internal development, to arise to a higher spiritual stature in this tradition. But also, this is for those who are initiated in this tradition. For the Odu Iworiwani, they have to sleep with a hat that that has half red, half black, to help them open the roadways, because also represents the central nervous system and different aspects of the mind as well, and the development. And also they have to always stay hydrated, things like that of that nature. Mafedo Fum Yamaya, Mafedo Fum Oloku, Mafedo Fum Eshu, and especially Eshu Alakendu. But yeah, so yeah, this is a general explanation of the Odu Wodiwani. Stay tuned for other patakis and other odus that I will be sharing to in this channel. So Ashe Buru, a boy was Thank you. Buru Boya.